Manufacturer's Department, Part A, for Our Knowledge Box. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Our Knowledge Box, by George Blackie. Manufacturer's Department, Part A. Indelible ink for marking clothing. Nitrate of silver, 5 scruples. Gum arabic, 2 drachms. Sap green, 1 scruple. Distilled water, 1 ounce. Mix together. Before writing on the article to be marked, apply a little of the following: carbonate of soda, 1/2 ounce. Distilled water, 4 ounces. Let this last, which is the mordant, get dry. Then, with a quill pen, write what you require. Imitation gold. 16 parts platina, 7 parts copper, 1 part zinc. Put in a covered crucible with powdered charcoal, and melt together till the whole forms one mass, and are thoroughly incorporated together. Or, take 4 ounces platina, 3 ounces silver, 1 ounce copper. Imitation silver. 11 ounces refined nickel, 2 ounces metallic bismuth. Melt the compositions together 3 times, and pour them out in ley. The third time, when melting, add 2 ounces pure silver. Or take 1/4 ounce copper, 1 ounce bismuth, 2 ounces saltpeter, 2 ounces common salt, 1 ounce arsenic, 1 ounce potash, 2 ounces brass, and 3 ounces pure silver. Melt all together in a crucible. Recipe for making artificial honey. To 10 pounds sugar add 3 pounds water, 40 grains cream tartar, 10 drops essence peppermint, and 3 pounds strained honey. First dissolve the sugar in water, and take off the scum. Then dissolve the cream of tartar in a little warm water, which you will add with some little stirring. Then add the honey. Heat to a boiling point, and stir for a few minutes. Vinegar. Take 40 gallons of soft water, 6 quarts of cheap molasses, and 6 pounds of acetic acid. Put them into a barrel, an old vinegar barrel is best, and let them stand from 3 to 10 weeks, stirring occasionally. Add a little mother of old vinegar, if convenient. Age improves it. Soft soap. Dissolve 15 pounds of common cheap hard soap in 15 gallons of hot water, and let it cool. Then dissolve 15 pounds of sal soda in 15 gallons of hot water, add 6 pounds of unslaked lime, and boil 20 minutes. Let it cool and settle, and then pour off the clear liquor very carefully, and mix it with the soap solution. It improves it very much to add 1 quart of alcohol after mixing the 2 solutions. Smaller quantities can be made in the same proportions. If too strong, add water to suit. Babbitt's Premium Soap. 5 gallons strong ley, 5 gallons water, 5 pounds tallow, 1 pound potash, 2 pounds sal soda, 1/2 pound rosin, 1 pint salt, 1 pint washing fluid. Let the water boil, then put in the articles, and boil half an hour. Stir it well while boiling, and then run into molds. It will be ready for use as soon as cold. The above preparations are for 100 pounds of soap. Celebrated recipe for silver wash. 1 ounce of nitric acid, 1 10-cent piece, and 1 ounce of quicksilver. Put in an open glass vessel, and let it stand until dissolved. Then add 1 pint of water, and it is ready for use. Make it into a powder by adding whiting, and it may be used on brass, copper, German silver, etc. Cement for aquaria. Many persons have attempted to make aquarium, but have failed on account of the extreme difficulty in making the tank resist the action of water for any length of time. Below is a recipe for a cement that can be relied upon. It is perfectly free from anything that injures the animals or plants. It sticks to glass, metal, wood, stone, etc., and hardens under water. 100 different experiments with cements have been tried, but there is nothing like it. It is the same as that used in constructing the tanks of the Zoological Gardens, London, and is almost unknown in this country. 1 part by measure, say a gill, of litharge, 1 gill of plaster of Paris, 1 gill of dry, white sand, 1/3 of a gill of finely powdered resin. Sift and keep corked tight until required for use, when it is to be made into a putty by mixing in boiled oil (linseed) with a little patent dryer added. Never use it after it has been mixed, that is, with the oil, over 15 hours. This cement can be used for marine as well as freshwater aquaria, as it resists the action of salt water. The tank can be used immediately, but it is best to give it 3 or 4 hours to dry. Cement for attaching metal to glass. Take 2 ounces of a thick solution of glue and mix it with 1 ounce of linseed oil varnish, and half an ounce of pure turpentine. The whole are then boiled together in a close vessel. The 2 bodies should be clamped and held together for about 2 days, after they are united, to allow the cement to become dry. The clamps may then be removed. Cement for mending broken china. Stir plaster of Paris into a thick solution of gum arabic till it becomes a viscous paste. Apply it with a brush to the fractured edges, and draw the parts closely together. Cement for mending steam boilers. Mix 2 parts of finely powdered litharge with 1 part of very fine sand, and 1 part of quicklime, which has been allowed to slack spontaneously by exposure to the air. This mixture may be kept for any length of time without injury. In using it, a portion is mixed into paste with linseed oil, or, still better, boiled linseed oil. In this state it must be quickly applied, as it soon becomes hard. Cheap white house paint. Take skim milk, 2 quarts, 8 ounces fresh slaked lime, 6 ounces linseed oil, 2 ounces white burgundy pitch, 3 pounds Spanish white. Slake the lime in water, expose it to the air, and mix in about 1/4 of the milk, the oil, in which the pitch is previously dissolved, to be added a little at the time. Then the rest of the milk, and afterwards the Spanish white. This quantity is sufficient for 30 square yards, 2 coats, and costs but a few cents. If the other colors are wanted, use, instead of Spanish white, other coloring matter. Composition for house roofs. Take 1 measure of fine sand, 2 of sifted wood ashes, and 3 of lime, ground up with oil. Mix thoroughly, and lay on with a painter's brush, first a thin coat and then a thick one. This composition is not only cheap, but it strongly resists fire. Diamond cement. Isinglass 1 ounce, distilled vinegar 5 1/2 ounces, spirits of wine 2 ounces, gum ammoniacum 1/2 ounce, gum mastic 1/2 ounce. Mix well. French polish. To 1 pint of spirits of wine, add 1/4 of an ounce of gum copal, 1/4 of an ounce of gum arabic, and 1 ounce of shellac. Let the gums be well bruised, and sifted through a piece of muslin. Put the spirits and the gums together in a vessel that can be closely corked. Place them near a warm stove, and frequently shake them. In 2 or 3 days they will be dissolved. Strain the mixture through a piece of muslin, and keep it tightly corked for use. Furniture oil for polishing and staining mahogany. Take of linseed oil 1 gallon, alkanet root 3 ounces, rose pink 1 ounce. Boil them together 10 minutes, and strain so that the oil be quite clear. The furniture should be well rubbed with it every day until the polish is brought up, which will be more durable than any other. Glue for ready use. To any quantity of glue, use common whiskey instead of water. Put both together in a bottle, cork tight, and set it away for 3 or 4 days, when it will be fit for use without the application of heat. A quart of ink for a dime. Buy extract of logwood, which may be had at 3 cents an ounce, or cheaper by the quantity. Buy also, for 3 cents, an ounce of bichromate of potash. Do not make a mistake and get the simple chromate of potash. The former is orange red, and the latter clear yellow. Now take half an ounce of extract of logwood and 10 grains of bichromate of potash, and dissolve them in a quart of hot rain water. When cold, pour it into a glass bottle, and leave it uncorked for a week or two. Exposure to the air is indispensable. The ink is then made, and has cost 5 to 10 minutes labor, and about 3 cents besides the bottle. The ink is at first an intense steel blue, but becomes quite black. An excellent substitute for ink. Put a couple of iron nails into a teaspoonful of vinegar. In half an hour pour in a tablespoonful of strong tea, and then you will have ink enough for a while. Ink first-rate black. Take 12 pounds of bruised galls, 5 pounds of gum Senegal, 5 pounds of green sulphate of iron, and 12 gallons of rain water. Boil the galls with 9 gallons of water for 3 hours, adding fresh water to replace what is lost by evaporation. Let the decoction settle, and draw off the clear liquor. Add to it a strained solution of the gum. Dissolve also the sulphate of iron separately, and mix the whole. Ink, blue. Chinese blue, 3 ounces. Oxalic acid, pure, 3/4 of an ounce. Gum arabic, powdered, 1 ounce. Distilled water, 6 pints. Mix. Ink, cheap printing. Take equal parts of lampblack and oil. Mix and keep on the fire until reduced to the right consistency. This is a good ink for common purposes, and is very cheap. We have used it extensively ourselves. Ink, copying. Dissolve half an ounce of gum and 20 grains of Spanish licorice in 13 drachms of water, and add 1 drachm of lampblack, previously mixed with a teaspoonful of sherry. Ink, indelible. To 4 drachms of lunar caustic in 4 ounces of water, add 60 drops of nutgalls, made strong by being pulverized and steeped in soft water. The mordant, which is to be applied to the cloth before writing, is composed of 1 ounce of pearlash dissolved in 4 ounces of water, with a little gum arabic dissolved in it. Wet the spot with this. Dry and iron the cloth. Then write. Ink, indelible marking. 1½ drachms of nitrate of silver, 1 ounce of distilled water, half an ounce of strong mucilage of gum arabic, 3/4 of a drachm of liquid ammonia. Mix the above in a clean glass bottle, cork tightly, and keep in a dark place till dissolved, and ever afterwards. Directions for use: shake the bottle, then dip a clean quill pen in the ink, and write or draw what you require on the article. Immediately hold it close to the fire, without scorching, or pass a hot iron over it, and it will become a deep and indelible black, indestructible by either time or acids of any description. Ink, indestructible. On many occasions it is of importance to employ an ink indestructible by any process, that will not equally destroy the material on which it is applied. For black ink, 25 grains of copal in powder are to be dissolved in 200 grains of oil of lavender by the assistance of a gentle heat, and are then to be mixed with 2½ grains of lampblack and half a grain of indigo. This ink is particularly useful for labeling files, etc., containing chemical substances of a corrosive nature. Ink for marking linen with type. Dissolve 1 part of asphaltum in 4 parts of oil of turpentine, and lampblack or blacklead in fine powder, in sufficient quantity to render of proper consistency to print with type. Ink powder for immediate use. Reduce to powder 10 ounces of gallnuts, 3 ounces of green copperas, 2 ounces each of powdered alum and gum arabic. Put a little of this mixture into white wine, and it will be fit for immediate use. Ink stains. The moment the ink is spilled, take a little milk and saturate the stain, soak it up with a rag, and apply a little more milk, rubbing it well in. In a few minutes the ink will be completely removed. Red ink. Take of the raspings of Brazil wood, 1/4 of a pound, and infuse them 2 or 3 days in colorless vinegar, Boil the infusion 1 hour and a half over a gentle fire, and afterward filter it while hot, through paper laid in an earthenware colander. Put it again over the fire, and dissolve in it first half an ounce of gum arabic, and afterward of alum and white sugar, each half an ounce. Care should be taken that the Brazil wood be not adulterated with the Braziletto or Campeche wood. Transfer ink. Mastic in tears 4 ounces, shellac 6 ounces, Venice turpentine half an ounce. Melt together, add wax half a pound, tallow 3 ounces. When dissolved, further add hard tallow soap in shavings 3 ounces, and when the whole is combined, add lampblack 2 ounces. Mix well, cool a little, and then pour it into molds. This ink is rubbed down with a little water in a cup or saucer, in the same way as watercolor cakes. In winter, the operation should be performed near the fire. Indian glues. Take 1 pound of the best glue, the stronger the better, boil it and strain it very clear. Boil also 4 ounces of isinglass, put the mixture into a double glue pot, add half a pound of brown sugar, and boil the whole until it gets thick. Then pour it into thin plates or molds, and when cold you may cut and dry them in small pieces for the pocket. The glue is used by merely holding it over steam, or wetting it with the mouth. This is a most useful and convenient article, being much stronger than common glue. It is sold under the name of Indian glue, but is much less expensive in making, and is applicable to all kinds of small fractures, etc. Answers well on the hardest woods, and cements china, etc., though of course it will not resist the action of hot water. For parchment and paper, in lieu of gum or paste, it will be found equally convenient. Japanese cement. Intimately mix the best powdered rice with a little cold water, then gradually add boiling water until a proper consistence is acquired, being particularly careful to keep it well stirred all the time. Lastly, it must be boiled for 1 minute in a clean saucepan or earthen pipkin. This glue is beautifully white and almost transparent, for which reason it is well adapted for fancy paperwork, which requires a strong and colorless cement. Liquid blacking. Mix 1/4 pound of ivory black, 6 gills of vinegar, a tablespoonful of sweet oil, and 2 large spoonfuls of molasses. Stir the whole well together, and it will then be fit for use. Liquid glue. Dissolve 1 part of powdered alum, 120 parts of water. Add 120 parts of glue, 10 of acetic acid, and 40 of alcohol, and digest. Prepared glue is made by dissolving common glue in warm water, and then adding acetic acid, strong vinegar, to keep it. Dissolve 1 pound of best glue in 1 1/2 pints of water, and add 1 pint of vinegar. It is then ready for use. Magic copying paper. To make black paper, lampblack mixed with cold lard. Red paper, Venetian red mixed with lard. Blue paper, Prussian blue mixed with lard. Green paper, chrome green mixed with lard. The above ingredients to be mixed to the consistency of thick paste, and to be applied to the paper with a rag. Then take a flannel rag and rub until all color ceases coming off. Cut your sheets 4 inches wide and 6 inches long. Put 4 sheets together, 1 of each color, and sell for 25 cents per package. The first cost will not exceed 3 cents. Directions for writing with this paper. Lay down your paper upon which you wish to write. Then lay on the copying paper, and over this lay any scrap of paper you choose. Then take any hard pointed substance and write as you would with a pen. Mahogany stain. Break 2 ounces of dragon's blood in pieces, and put them in a quart of rectified spirits of wine. Let the bottle stand in a warm place, and shake it frequently. When dissolved, it is fit for use, and will render common wood an excellent imitation of mahogany. Marine glue. Dissolve 4 parts of India rubber in 34 parts of coal tar naphtha, aiding the solution with heat and agitation. The solution is then thick as cream, and it should be added to 64 parts of powdered shellac, which must be heated in the mixture till all is dissolved. While the mixture is hot, it is poured on plates of metal, in sheets like leather. It can be kept in that state, and when it is required to be used, it is put into a pot and heated till it is soft, and then applied with a brush to the surfaces to be joined. 2 pieces of wood joined with this cement can scarcely be sundered. Parchment. Paper parchment may be produced by immersing paper in a concentratic solution of chloride of zinc. Amalgam of gold. Place 1 part of gold in a small iron saucepan or ladle, perfectly clean, then add 8 parts of mercury, and apply a gentle heat, when the gold will dissolve. Agitate the mixture for 1 minute, and pour it out on a clean plate or stone slab. For gilding brass, copper, etc., the metal to be gilded is first rubbed over with a solution of nitrate of mercury, and then covered with a very thin film of the amalgam. On heat being applied, the mercury volatilizes, leaving the gold behind. A much less proportion of gold is often employed than the above, where a very thin and cheap gilding is required, as by increasing the quantity of the mercury, the precious metal may be extended over a much larger surface. A similar amalgam prepared with silver is used for silvering. Amalgam for mirrors. Lead and tin, each 1 ounce. Bismuth, 2 ounces. Mercury, 4 ounces. Melt as before, and add the mercury. These are used to silver mirrors, glass globes, etc., by warming the glass, melting the amalgam, and applying it. Annealing steel. 1. For a small quantity, heat the steel to a cherry red in a charcoal fire, then bury in sawdust, in an iron box, covering the sawdust with ashes. Let stay until cold. 2. For a larger quantity, and when it is required to be very soft, pack the steel with cast iron, lathe or planer, chips, in an iron box, as follows, having at least 1/2 or 3/4 inch in depth of chips in the bottom of the box. Put in a layer of steel, then more chips to fill the spaces between the steel, and also the 1/2 or 3/4 inch space between the sides of box and steel, then more steel. And lastly, at least 1 inch in depth of chips, well rammed down on top of steel. Heat to, and keep at a red heat for from 2 to 4 hours. Do not disturb the box until cold. To make bell metal. 1. Melt together under powdered charcoal 100 parts of pure copper with 20 parts of tin, and unite the 2 metals by frequently stirring the mass. Product very fine. 2. Copper 3 parts, tin 1 part, as above. Some of the finest church bells in the world have this composition. 3. Copper 2 parts, tin 1 part, as above. 4. Copper 72 parts, tin 26½ parts, iron 1 1/2 parts. The bells of small clocks or pendules are made of this alloy in Paris. Brass to make. 1. Fine brass, 2 parts of copper to 1 part of zinc. This is nearly 1 equivalent each of copper and zinc, if the equivalent of the former metal be taken at 63 to 2, or 2 equivalents of copper to 1 equivalent of zinc, if it be taken with Liebig and Berzelius at 31 to 6. 2. Copper 4 parts, zinc 1 part, an excellent and very useful brass. Cleansing solution for brass. Put together 2 ounces sulfuric acid, 1 1/2 ounce nitric acid, 1 drachm saltpeter, and 2 ounces rainwater. Let stand for a few hours, and apply by passing the article in and out quickly, and then washing off thoroughly with clean rainwater. Old discolored brass chains, treated in this way, will look equally as well as when new. The usual method of drying as in sawdust. To cover brass with beautiful luster colors. 1 ounce of cream of tartar is dissolved in 1 quart of hot water, to which is added ½ an ounce of tin salt, protochloride of tin, dissolved in 4 ounces of cold water. The whole is then heated to boiling, the clear solution decanted from a trifling precipitate, and under continual stirring poured into a solution of 3 ounces of hyposulphite of soda in 1/2 a pint of water, whereupon it is again heated to boiling, and filtered from the separated sulphur. This solution produces on brass the various luster colors, depending on the length of time during which the articles are allowed to remain in it. The colors at first will be light to dark, gold yellow, passing through all the tints of red to an iridescent brown. A similar series of colors is produced by sulphide of copper and lead, which, however, are not remarkable for their stability. Whether this defect will be obviated by the use of the tin solution, experience and time alone can show. End of Manufacturer's Department, Part A. Recording by Bill Borst.